So the ritual that we start with here is I'm going to ring this bell and we line up to make the entrance to the temple. You're setting aside some time to be awesome. It's like we're visiting a real life temple. We walk in one at a time, and as we enter the temple, we bow. Whatever bowing means to you, just think of, hey, I'm just putting everything aside, entering this space. Think of it like the dojo in the Matrix or something sacred, if that
I
word
just got
means
done
anything to
watching The
you.
Matrix. It's really funny you said that. Like literally right before I got in
Awesome.
here.
Uh, um, and so remember how Morpheus just kept saying the speed of your muscles in this place. As we're doing today's session, think of the speed of your transformation. The only limit is your mind. I'm trying to free your mind. So we bow as we enter the dojo. There's an enlightened being at the back of the dojo. I invite you to look at it and think about the enlightened being inside you, the one that's pure peace and happiness all the time, the part that's total confidence, the part that's pure love for all beings. And just have a little moment to bow with the enlightened being, and then you just go and stand on a cushion. We stand for our intention setting. So let's go. Sorry. There's a strength and a power within you. It's something epic for so many people. There's creativity and joy, bliss.
Hey.
You know peace, you know joy. Carry it at all moments. So we start the session with setting an intention. So, why are you here? Maybe you want to be happier. Maybe you want to stress less. Maybe you want to be more patient or kind. Maybe you want deep peace or a complete shift in mindset so that you can master every moment. Maybe you want to be able to be more empowered or be better at things. Maybe you want to have more understanding for people who treated you badly. Maybe you want something bigger than that. Perhaps you imagine a world that's completely different, where everyone is kind and where everyone is free from the nonsense that we kind of do to ourselves, where we upset ourselves or get stuck in not helpful loops. You imagine a world where everybody is enlightened and bringing the best out of each other, and you want to be one of those enlightened beings. Whatever your intention is to be here today, I just want you to take a few breaths and think about that intention and feel it stronger. If you're just here out of curiosity, I hope you set the intention to find things that are awesome for you and embody them, take them on, make them great. All right, and now we're going to grab a seat. So welcome to today's session, everybody. Sorry about the technical mishaps. It's great to see so many familiar faces, and it's nice to have a few new people. For those of you who are new, we have these sessions really regularly, and I know we're in a spiritual temple, but my approach is this is just, like I said, a world where everyone's kind and helping each other be awesome. That, to me, doesn't sound like a far out thing. It's a thing that's going to take a lot of work, but it's a real thing. I talked about you being happier or more peaceful. This session and all of these sessions are supposed to be super practical and achievable. So anything I say, if it sounds like airy-fairy stuff, please stop me and say, what are you talking about? Everything I say, I want it to sound totally practical. Some of the ideas we've been practicing, I might have some words that some of us take for granted. Please ask what they mean. I want everything to sound like things that you could do every day that'll make you happier and stronger. And the same goes for those of you who are regulars here. If there's a part of you or part of your practice where you've been stuck, and please ask. If there's some way you'd like to understand it differently, please ask. These sessions are for you. Be selfish. I want you to be totally selfish in this session. Ask everything you want. Get the most out of this session you can. Can I see a wave or a nod that people agree to that? Good. This is for you guys. All right. So I wanted to start by asking regulars or other people, if you've ever practiced meditation or personal development stuff, is there anything you wanted to share about how meditation or practices have helped you? So I could start. You guys can think of things. So I used to be a really angry, lonely person. And then I learned kindness meditation, and I did it every day for a month or two. And in that month, I developed this feeling of, yeah, I really do want other people to feel happy. And I let that overtake the angry feelings. And I transform myself into someone that I think is loving and understanding. And I could genuinely say I feel that towards everybody. So that's one way that meditation practice has really helped me. Does someone else want to share something about these sessions or meditation, some way that things have helped you? Treximus?
So I've started doing kind of a different. I don't even know if you call it meditation, but the what you suggested to say to myself either in the mirror or just myself 3 times a day. Try to do more. Um, kind of chanting positive affirmations is really basically what it is. And I found that simultaneously very helpful and also very revealing about my uh, state. It's actually very difficult for me. Um, I have a lot of very hard on myself. I've always, and it's very surprising how difficult it is for me to say to myself anything positive about myself. It's actually emotional taxing. Um,
Mm.
that's it's been a learning experience.
I definitely have some helpful thoughts around that. But first of all, I want to ask, you said it's been helpful and you see all the difficulties. Can you tell us about some of the ways it's been helpful?
So overall, through the day, there is a one of the things that I've been kind of trying to combat is a regular kind of tape in my head of um, negativity, right? Like comparing myself to others, comparing myself to who I think I should be. Um, why aren't you smarter? Why can't you do this right? Why'd you make that mistake? All day long. And when it's replaced with the positivity, it takes up this space that would be filled with that negativity. And the more I do it, better I feel. But at the same time, while I'm doing it, it's this weird like there's this um oh, I don't know, like an animal inside of me trying to like fight against that, saying, no, 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 you're bad. It's weird.
Mm. Um, so if other people thought of stories of positivity they want to share, please remember them. I want to come back to them. So Shreximus was saying, as he says these positive things to himself, that sticks through the day and replaces some of the negative things. And those negative things, they suck. They hurt. They make things harder. They make us not as good at stuff. And so each one of them that fades down a little bit or disappears, it's beautiful that we can do that for ourselves. And
Oh, I think he cut out. Did he cut out, or is it?
No, I think he crashed.
Yeah.
Or he's frozen at least.
Yeah, that's happened before.
Limitations.
He's just looking deep into my eyes, his hand outstretched, unmoved. Maybe it is a dramatic pause. I don't know. That might be.
I guess at this point, we would meditate, huh?
Yeah, sure. He'll be back in.
Imagine. I would give it just a moment, though.
okay, I'm back. Can you guys hear me?
Welcome.
Yeah.
We had a short meditation.
Ah, you guys are the best. I'm not sure if it's because I'm on weak Wi-Fi or why it just crashed. Kind of wild, just suddenly being sitting in an empty temple. But yeah,
Oh,
my neighbors were so kind to lend me their Wi-Fi.
that's.
So we were talking about how if we can take one of these negative mental habits and turn down the volume on it, or even replace it totally with a positive thing, how good that can be. You know, one of those bad feelings, if that's gone, that's like a weight off our shoulders. Or something that makes you hesitate or mess up something that you like to do. If you're suddenly free to be more expressive or to give it your best, that makes that part of your life more fun. So it's a beautiful thing. Now, in regards to the stuff you were saying, where do I start? I want to talk about mindfulness, and I want to talk about doing the technique better. Which would you like to hear first?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I guess the technique, since we're on that already.
Okay, I was going to talk about mindfulness related to the technique. But yeah, let's look at
Oh,
the
okay.
technique. So you mentioned that you'll look in the mirror or say to yourself and kind of chant this positivity. So if it's just the words and you're just chanting, then if you think about your mind, there's the word part of your mind and the emotion part of your mind and the ideas part and the pictures part. And you're chanting, I am peaceful, I am peaceful. And then the part of you that's stressed out is like, fuck off. No, I'm not. So if you're just engaging the words, it works a bit. Those ideas, the words kind of sink in, and little by little, they help through the day. But as you can see, the other parts of the mind might be there fighting it. Or even if some of you will do positive chants and you won't have other parts fighting, but still the words have to slowly sink through to turn into emotions or to turn into the image of how you act in that situation. So what I really encourage you to do is, as you're doing it, try to actively use all the parts of your mind. So you could imagine what it would feel like if you're really peaceful. The words, the images, the feeling in the body, the emotions, the way you move. It's the ideas. What's it like to be a peaceful person versus a person who is always harsh on themselves? And so you practice the idea or the way of thinking as a person who'd be kind or peaceful. So that's the first thing I want to say is, as well as the words, just as much you want to actively use all the different parts of you. And then I mentioned mindfulness is also important for this. So as you were describing it to us, you told us you're a person who's harsh on yourself. And it's hard for you to be kind to yourself. So I invite you to notice anytime you say things like that and be like, whoa, there's a part of me to transform. I'm always kind to myself and I use my mind awesomely. It's easy for me to imagine and create different things. So that was me responding to, I'm always hard on myself. I'm always kind to myself. It's hard for me. It's easy for me. Just give yourself a chance to try out the opposite or something else. Now, if we go a little more detailed into mindfulness, you were saying that you'll be chanting this positivity and then some other part of you comes in and fights. Rah! Well, great. That's you seeing this part that needs some transformation. So you're like, okay, well, that's the part of me now that I'm going to actively retrain. You know, if you were training a pack of dogs and a lot of them were working well, then one of them was particularly behaving out of what you're aiming for, you'd give that one some attention. You'd be like, okay, all right, you got to sit still, little dog. Take a few breaths. Now you are awesome. You are great. And then you imagine that part being the best of all of them. That part just being so good that it inspires the rest. Or just what would it be like if that attitude was turned around? I'm a peaceful person. Oh, but duh, duh, duh. Okay, in duh, 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 I'm also a peaceful person. Did that all make sense? Was it relevant?
Yeah, I think so. You kind of just really give the opposite a chance over and over.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't have to be the opposite. Maybe you just be like, okay, what would I like this to be instead? But yeah, I'm hard on myself and I'm kind to myself. I just called it the opposite. Yeah, or it's hard for me. It's easy for me. You might be like, I'm not very good at that. And then the opposite of that is like, oh, I'm okay at it. Or maybe you want to be like, I'm amazing at that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be the opposite. It's just like, it's a chance for you to think, what do you want to create there instead? Now, for some of you, that might sound a little abstract. I kept talking about peace. Shreximus said there was a bunch of parts of his life, so I use peace as one example. So I want everyone to think of some examples in yourself. I'm comfortable around people, or like I'm nervous around people. I get sad, or I get happy for no reason. I'm good at learning, or I'm stupid. I can't do anything. I'm a piece of shit. No one cares about me. I care about things, and there are people who care about me if I gave them a chance. There are people who definitely would want to tell me they love me if they knew how. There's a whole community here that cares about me. I have to open up to them. You get the idea, I hope. Did everybody think of some attitudes or some parts of yourself which, if you transformed them, would be a great thing, would bring happiness or peace or strength to your life? Can I see a wave or a nod if you thought of some? You know, and sometimes there's some things that is like so ingrained. Shreximus was saying there's like this other part of it. Maybe you said it was like a wild animal comes and like fights. Nah, rah. Some things seem pretty like intense. Maybe you've had this like deep sadness, sort of like feels like it's out of your control. It just happens to you. And then the idea of programming yourself with happiness, maybe you start to do it and you're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But I want to encourage you to be like, okay, blah, blah, blah. All right, there's a part of me that I really want to program. Bruh, that part of me, whoa, that'd be amazing if I had transformed that into happiness for no reason. Like, really give this the full chance it deserves, especially when you think something is set in stone. You can always carve that stone and make something more awesome. All right. So I started this session with, hey, I'd love to hear people share how meditation or practices have helped them. Do we want to have any other questions or comments about practicing transformation? It could be, how would you apply this to some part of your life, or tell us more about the practice? Or would someone else like to share some other way that coming here has been helpful? Shreximus,
I
are
just
you happy with the answer that I gave you?
I think so. I think it makes sense.
Excellent. I'd love to hear soon an update.
Okay, cool.
Lemon White Larnack, you both jumped in.
I was just gonna say I think it's great to see so many heads today here,
We love you guys.
especially joining the conversation too. Thank you for contributing, everyone, even with presence.
Can we all just take a
Yeah.
few deep breaths and appreciate this community, familiar faces, people that have been here, growing together. Maybe people have said things that are caring or helpful to you. Let's just take a few breaths and appreciate. Maybe look around and see everybody. Thank you, Lemon Wire. Larnak, what were you going to say?
What I wanted to say is that for many years I've been doing meditation on and off, and I realized that it gave me a lot of peace and see things from more like a backseat, more not in the fire. But I realized that the when I need it the most, when the suffering is at high, it's when I'm struggling the most to do meditation. And like uh, in those instances, I do more avoidance than sitting and reflecting on how I feel. And I was wondering if you have any suggestions regarding that.
The first thing that comes to mind is how do we deal with that easily? And that is, if it's hard for you, come here or reach out to a friend who you know is very good at guiding a meditation for you or soothing you. Take the easy path to help you get like back on track.
Yes,
You
structure
know,
is
I'd
good.
always guide a meditation for you. So there's one thought. Another thought is when things are really suffering, perhaps sitting there and observing would hurt a lot. Maybe you don't want to do that. And so meditation isn't just sitting and observing. Meditation can also be just going into peace. Just giving yourself a break from all that other stuff. And it's different from just avoiding because you're actually cultivating peace inside yourself. Or maybe you want to do a laughter meditation. Just give yourself a chance to like tap back into the bliss. Sometimes the bliss is so good that when you look again at the sadness, it's just, yeah, like all you can do is laugh at it.
You will probably find that surprising, but I feel intimidated by laughter meditation.
Well, I'll go back to our previous idea, is I would love you to say to yourself, I'm curious about laughter meditation. I'm excited to explore how happy I could get. But yeah, it doesn't have to be laughter meditation. It could be peace meditation. It could be loving kindness meditation. It could be a version of happiness meditation that suits you. Find peace and then think of warm things, you know, round paper packages tied up with string and you know, all of my favorite things makes me feel good. Like, just move into warm, cozy feelings. And then after you're feeling warm and cozy for a little while, you might like crank it up and be like, oh yeah, those things that made me feel really good. Or maybe not even things, just like, I'm making really good feelings. Oh wow, I'm making even more good feelings. And you might get to a point where you're like, oh, this feels really good. And like, that's how I got into laughter meditation. It was just happiness meditation that I got so happy, I had to laugh to express it. But yeah, so peace or compassion or positive, warm, kind feelings. Or maybe you could meditate on being a better programmer. Or you could meditate on being an even more loving communicator who's great at making conversations that are good for you, that you enjoy, that bring you alive. There's lots of things you could meditate on that would really help you that doesn't have to just be observing where you're at. Sometimes just observing where you're at can be really helpful, and sometimes not. It really is a matter of like, what do you do with that observation? So, but yeah, so when it comes to like mindfulness of watching your awareness, if you are going to do that meditation, I would also start by setting the intention. I'm going to look at my mind proactively. I'm going to see what's going on. You're a computer programmer. I'm going to look at the code, or I'm going to look at the different agents in my mind, and if I see one of them messing up, I'm going to retrain them. I'm just going to watch carefully and go in and be active with myself. That might be a more approachable thing than just sitting and watching it. Maybe the way that you sit and observe is super great for you. And if that's the case, then you could start by just setting the intention or the remembrance. Hey, I know this actually really helps me. Take a few breaths. This really helps me. I'm going to give it a minute or two. Maybe just a minute. And then a minute in, you're like, oh yeah, I'll do a bit longer. All right, so there's a lot of options of what you could do in your practice. But also remember, you've got a community. You've got friends who can support you. You've got friends who would love to meditate with you. You've got friends that if you called them up and said, hey, I want to guide a meditation, they would love it. So we're in it together.
Yeah, you got a good point. I'm way too more used to mindfulness meditations, and I don't think about all the other kind of meditations there is.
And even in mindfulness, there's different approaches. You could be just single-pointed stillness. If the other stuff comes up, you're like, hang on, I'm just going to have a break. I'm just breathing now, just to watch my consciousness. There's mindfulness of just really strongly breathing. There's mindfulness of watching what's happening and then reprogramming. There's mindfulness of watching what's happening and asking, where did that come from? All these things kind of fit under the same banner, and they're subtly different, but they will have different impacts on you. Anyone who's new to meditation, I hope that what we were just talking about made sense.
I can really relate to that busy mind kind of mentality. I have some serious sleeping issues, and well, but I have some serious sleeping issues where my mind just races and races, and there's been multiple nights in the last year where I try and go to bed, and it's I go to bed at a pretty reasonable time, like 12 in the morning, and then or like 11, and then I wake up at like 6. I'm like, I can't do this. Like I can't. I've been tossing and turning for so long. It's just I can't seem to put my mind to rest. But when I kind of employ the thought process of, instead of trying to focus on each individual raindrop in a waterfall, just kind of sitting with that noise. It's like if you have a ticking clock in a room and you're talking to someone, you're not paying attention to that clock. It's just there, and it's in your subconscious. But whenever you attend to it and when you think about it, it suddenly becomes very clear. So when you're trying to focus on all of these little individual thoughts as they pass by, it can become overwhelming. But whenever you just kind of let it pass over you like a waterfall, it can be like a white noise almost, where you don't have to sit with any one of those thoughts. Just simply observing them is enough to let them pass through.
I I want to say I have a hard time focusing on the good when I know that the bad is very, very real. Shit is coming down at me on life. And whether or not I'm gonna meditate or not, that stuff isn't gonna change. And when I'm done practicing meditation, I'm back in the real world per se. And I have to ask myself practically, well, what Neojex is trying to assess is how the practical ways we can apply this to our life. And the tool of meditation, what I've realized after failing so many times, is that you just need to really, really understand the manual of how it works for it to actually have a practical application in your life. It's the way you come at it and observe what meditation actually is. In Deceased, you had a great, point, isn't that it's really all about the attachment that we have to our own ideas of our identity and ourselves, which is our thoughts. You know, we're so trapped in our thoughts, running mill since the day we're born, really, that we think that that is all there is, and that's kind of us. What I am is me and my thoughts, but that's not the point, because when you meditate over and over again and you actually give time to it, you realize that, wait a second, I'm like this thing observing my thoughts. So if there's a separation there and I'm always here, the good and the bad in life is always going to happen, and it's always going to change, just as my thoughts always come and pass me by. And I have no control over it. So why do I keep fighting? Why do I keep holding on? And then the act of letting go is the true meditation. And it's not really a feeling that you can describe. But it's something that Lemon Wire, it gives you like that power to know that you are something connected to something greater, and you have a purpose. Kind of become one with the flow.
Yeah,
Or you
most certainly,
become
man.
Neo.
Mm.
Or you could become Neo Jax.
Yes.
Ta-da! I'm trying to free your minds. Is there a space? I really loved what you were saying about noticing that you're the observer, that you're not the thoughts. When we meditate, we see that we're something else from those thoughts. We're something else from those feelings. We are consciousness. And Lemon, why you said it's adding breath to your breath. I think it's another perspective or another way of saying it. But each one has different connotations. It's good to hear both. Like a longer breath gives you more time to react. It's subtly different to knowing that you are different than the thoughts. And I think it's good to develop both. Have this space between input and action instead of just being reaction all the time. And also cultivate this idea that I am not the reactions. I am not the random feelings. I am this consciousness. Now, Sora Space, I wanted to give an idea to you. You were saying, just like life comes and goes, the thoughts come and go. And I think I heard you say, like, the painful thoughts come and go, and you can just let them go and remember to come back into the peace. The idea I wanted to give was there are people who say my meditation is just becoming that awareness, so the thoughts come and go. But I would like to encourage all of you to imagine that you become that awareness, and more we train our mind that the thoughts that come and go feel good and are helpful and nice. So I've been doing this for a couple of decades, and I could say the number of times that a painful thought or some reaction happens that's not helping me is very rare. Whereas like Shrek said, it happens to him a lot. It used to happen to me all day long. And so, Shrek mentioned kind of training yourself with positivity. And I often like to say that training and mindfulness go so well together. If you're just practicing mindfulness, you see in some schools and some teachers, their whole life, their mind will still give them suffering, and they'll just be able to step out of it. And then you also have positive thinking trainers who train themselves with positivity, but without being mindful, they'll also notice themselves diving into negativity, or they'll get good at some things, but then still be telling themselves other terrible things. So mindfulness, observing and being free, combined with retraining, to me is this like magic secret sauce. So when you step into that space, you said it's hard to describe how it feels. When you step into that space, I also invite you to imagine that your whole mind is like that. That the thoughts and the feelings that you have also become that. And it might not happen straight away, but I invite you to imagine that it happens straight away. Like Morpheus says to Neo, like the speed that you can move in this dojo is up to you. So if you imagine your whole being this enlightened way, you'll find the feelings and the thoughts transform much more fully and completely. I was sitting in the back for a while just listening to you guys talk, and it really put a smile on my face to see everybody like bringing the best out of each other. I love you guys. So I want to go back to my original question, which was to ask everybody how meditations or training or this community or other positive practices have helped us. So I said I practiced kindness meditation. It made me a lot more kind. Shrexmas said by practicing saying positive things, it's helped him through the day and replaced not nice feelings or reactions with good ones. Larnak was saying that mindfulness meditation has brought him a lot more peace and made it easier to handle whatever's going on in life. I'd love to hear some more stories or examples.
I would agree definitely, but I wouldn't even know where to start because I guess some of my studies also take place in a couple of books that I've been kind of revisiting. But I'd say just the mindfulness in general, and then the appreciation for specific aspects of the psyche, such as awareness, because I guess that's one thing that I never really kind of considered myself personally, that I guess being attentive and making sure that I'm taking my time with certain things would be considered, I guess, as worthy of a prospect as I'd had initially considered.
That makes me want to have a little meditation.
Sounds
Let's
good.
just have a minute. I invite you all to take a really deep breath. Just notice your breathing. And if you'd like to close your eyes, you can. But I just want you to notice what your next breath feels like. And then just notice your awareness. What are you thinking or feeling? Where's your attention? And for some of you, this might be the first moment you ever put your attention onto your awareness. Larnak mentioned stepping away from the fire, being able to step back and observe. Soros mentioned noticing that you are the observer, which is different than the thought. Lemonwire mentioned adding depth to the breadth to the breath, and appreciating just being awareness. So as you just breathe, make your moment peaceful. Find that awareness, that that conscious. If your mind starts doing other things, that's cool. As soon as you notice it, cool, I'm noticing my mind. I'm just learning to watch my awareness. And I'm learning to reconnect with the awareness. To observe my attention. To observe myself, separate from any of the feeling or any thought. Just to see being conscious. And now many of you will have noticed that just that 2 minutes of meditation, you feel more peace, or relaxation, or presence, or strength, something nice. And I'll just, for the last bit of this short meditation, just invite you to imagine that you'll be able to tap into these better feelings more powerfully. And this spark of consciousness is you that's separate from the thing. More and more you'll make that you happy, peaceful, and strong. Over thousands of years, when people try to describe that part of us, they've used far out words because that part is just so nice, profoundly peaceful, so spacious, so beautiful. The more you connect with that consciousness, the more you become your awesome self. So just be grateful to yourself for a couple minutes of meditation. We'll do some more meditation in a little bit. Just appreciating that we can give ourselves little moments to observe, tap into nice feeling. So if you're in VR and that meditation was good, I invite you to look up and just put both hands up in the air. If you're on desktop, I invite you just to look up. So for some of us, if we're new to meditation, if I say just sit there and observe your mind, you might have only had a little moment where you observed your mind and then you're thinking about something else. But then hopefully you came back, you had another little moment of, I'm meditating now. And then I'm thinking about something else. And then maybe you noticed, I'm a little more chill. But I'm thinking about other stuff. So in that 3 minutes, you might have had just 3 little moments that were nice. Not even really enough to notice because your mind's doing all the other stuff. But I just want you to imagine if you practiced more, or if we'd sat for longer and your activity had more time to settle, that those peaceful moments get better and they feel better. You see a lot of the group here has meditated a bunch of times, and 3 minutes was enough to feel good and to connect to that peace inside ourselves. Every time we connect to it, it becomes better and it's more powerful and more helpful in our life. So we're going to do another similar meditation in a little while, and we'll go a bit longer. And I might also add in a little bit of kindness meditation, a little bit of positivity, or anything else we will talk about in this next bit. So again, I'm going to go back to my first question. What ways has meditation or life philosophies that we've talked about here, or practices of this community, what ways has it helped you? It's so wild that I can leave my hand on the table and then just wave my hand around. You guys have no idea what my hand's doing right now. Anyway. Sorry, just that was some random thinking activity for you. Does someone have a story to tell?
It's nice to regulate sleep, I guess. I guess after a meditation, one could be very sleepy.
Mm. When I first started meditating, I also discovered sleep hypnosis, and it was wild how training myself to sleep really well just was so good. I'd wake up feeling refreshed and alive. I think it's also good, even though meditation is peaceful and soothing, I think it's important to try and keep the idea of sleepiness and mindfulness separate. Yes, we're calming our mind, but I hope we're becoming more conscious, like super conscious. When you want to actively relax, great. Learn perfect relaxation. While you're practicing awareness, try to make it soothingly powerful.
Oh, okay, I was just making like a joke, but I really appreciate that thorough response, definitely.
Cool. Hey, Ekis.
Yeah, I'm a bit monotone.
I'd love to hear some of the ways that meditation or this community has been helpful for you.
Yeah. So, how long has it been since I started coming here? Was it last November? I think it might have been last November.
A year and a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I came here, I was getting over and still getting over that 3-year-long illness that left me in a wheelchair and not able to walk. And I think one of the most important things I learned was to be an observer not only of your thoughts, but of sensations that you feel. And for me, it was pain. It was actual physical pain. And I realized that my reaction to how my body was feeling at the time was keeping me from getting better. It was filling me with fear because I didn't want to add more pain by doing physical therapy and medications and experimental trials. But when I learned to become an observer of my physical sensations in my body, I exponentially got better incredibly fast. I mean, today I ran 2 miles. I haven't done that in 4 years. I'm learning to drive again. I'm moving in about 4 to 5 months to a new state. My life is getting it. And before I came here and before I started dealing with my mind, because I was obsessed with control. I was a control freak coming out of the film industry. It's just everyone's obsessed with it. But the problem is you can't control everything and you can't control those sensations. And when you learn to let that go, ironically, you get more control over yourself. It's kind of an illusion. So I'd say that's what's helped me the most here.
You brought a little tear to my eyes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
A happy tear. So impressed by you.
Yeah,
As you're
that's
telling
great.
the story of your recovery, I was just like, dude, you're a superhero. You're like a brain ninja. I remember that scene in The Matrix.
Yeah. When you asked
I
the
remember that
question,
scene where
yeah.
they have Neo with all the needles in him and they're rebuilding his body. I was just thinking of you as that, like becoming this enlightened one. Yeah,
It's
you're
been
awesome,
a long
dude.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, that story really touched me too. Thank you, Echoes.
Thanks for sharing.
No problem.
I'm glad I asked
Yeah.
you. Hmm. And I'm really glad, I think everybody here loves you. You're always good vibes and patient and kind. We're really, really lucky that you're here with us. And I'm glad you found us and that it was helpful for you. Would anyone else like to share? I know it's a tough act to follow, but ollistar.
Yeah, my well, I would like to say, yeah, thank you for sharing. That was wonderful, and I love it here. I'm so happy I found this place as well. It's been very helpful for me. Yeah, my my practice in general has really sort of I guess just completely flipped my life and brain around in the best way. I for a long time had a lot of really bad, how to put it, like I guess social inadequacies, or like I was bad at socializing. I was bad at talking to people. It made me really anxious just being around people. And through my practice, I've sort of overcome pretty much all of that. And now I like, I don't know, I love talking to people. I don't, it's not that I can talk to people. Like I genuinely enjoy it now. And like, I just kind of let go of everything. And I stopped drinking and smoking and doing all sorts of nasty stuff and getting myself together now and working out and stuff along with the meditation, and just it really just turned me around a lot, because I meditated for like on and off like 8 years. And I mean, it helped a bit, but it wasn't until I started coming here that everything kind of clicked for me, and I was like, oh my god, I get it now. And kind of improved everything tenfold at least. So yeah, thank you everyone here. It was been a great experience for me. So
Ollie, that's such a great story. Thank you.
We're glad to have you here.
Indeed.
Is everyone ready for our meditation?
Yes, please.
All right, I have a challenge for you. If I cut out again during the meditation, I invite everyone to stay in the meditation. And just to keep it engaging, if I cut out, I want you to aim to 10x whatever the last thing I said was. So if it was peace, like double the peace and infinite the peace. Whatever idea I had, if I cut out, you just magnify that one until I get back. All right. So, everybody ready? All right. So let's all get comfortable. My family just got back, so if you hear them in the background, I invite you to prime your mind right now that any sounds, anything, will bring you more peace. You're choosing to guide yourself into an awesome meditation. If it sounds in my background or sounds in your background, anything right now, you're going into peace. I invite you just to check your posture. And then notice you. Notice the observer that is separate from any thought. What is this part of you that's noticing going on? Yes, you can get caught up in a thought, but you can notice and you can come back into just you. Likewise, you can get caught up in a feeling, but you can notice, come back to just you. I'm trying to put it into eloquent words. If you get the idea of you being separate from any thoughts or reactions, I invite you to be that completely, more than my words could ever describe. Imagine you always were just in that consciousness, free from all old thoughts and habits, or if they arose, straight away back into infinite peace and power. Some of you in meditation found that peace in itself feels beyond words. Maybe it's massively expansive. Maybe it feels like you're floating. Maybe it's so beautiful it brings tears of joy to your eyes. Maybe it's hilarious to just let go of anything that ever bothered you. Maybe it's pure love as a gift of awareness to the world. As you imagine Ollie feeling anxious around people and then transforming it into actually loving talking to them. How beautiful that is. Or Shrexima sharing through his day thoughts or feelings that didn't help, and being able to let go of some of them, lessen some of them, transform them. Let yourself feel the epicness of that. Every person in the world, so many ways that they could bring themselves more peace, strength, rebuild and transform themselves to be a superhero, bring themselves strength and fitness, to find bravery and power. I think inside that stillness inside of you is this epic bravery, beautiful thing. I invite you to just breathe and feel that. If there's any beliefs you have about yourself, I invite you to imagine, what if you actually believed they were all just brain program, and you were to completely let them go and start practicing a purely peaceful, happy, joyful. Your idea of yourself became this empowerment, this superhero, And as if there's a part of you that resists that, imagine that part of you also becoming this empowering hero. If there's a part of you that's like, no, actually, I really am this thing. Just imagine if you were to let that thought or belief go. Just let it go for a few months. And just train something else in. And what if that something else takes over? How good that would. And I invite every one of you to feel how good it feels to be at peace around people and enjoy them. To cultivate peace, calm through the day. To be brave and make yourself strong. I invite you to imagine how good it feels. Every positive thing we cultivate, step more and more into that good feeling and let it drive these transformations inside. Happiness, peace, love, bliss, calm, ease, caring, mind, wisdom, giggle, joy, patience, enthusiasm, clarity of mind, wonderful feeling. Letting go of feelings that don't, letting go of attitudes. Your inner self becoming helpful and enjoyable. Cultivating an ease in self. Believing that your positivity just gets better and better. I'm trying to free your mind. Some of you might like the idea of all the enlightened beings in the universe looking at you and sending all your strength. Some of you might like to imagine all the positive feelings in the world. What if you felt them all right now? Some of you may be enlightened by the idea that your brain is a neural network that can be programmed into anything, so you're programming it with optimum freedom. Some of you may find enlightenment by the idea of what you'd be like if you chose everything. How would you choose? What would be your daily routine? What would be your personality? If you just chose everything, how would you feel? How would you act? How amazing would you be? Some of you may find mental liberation with an image of just shedding an old skin and stepping out as a new being. Some of you may find liberation just noticing your awareness in each moment and knowing that in every moment, that awareness is what you have. Staying connected with that awareness and infusing that every breath, infusing that with more bliss, with more joy, being all that you want to be in this moment, and in this moment, and in this moment, this awareness, this now. Whatever thought came up, birth from the past, I'm choosing now. I'm free. Now. Maybe you'd like to imagine how much right now I'm caring about you. I'm pouring all my heart into you, into this gift I'm trying to craft for you. Maybe you could imagine all the people who love you and care about you and how much they want you to be happy. All the people who you will care for or make friends with or connect with in your life. And the goodness you're cultivating, the beautiful joy you'll bring to all of them. Maybe you could imagine this community over the years, we care and support for one another more and more. All the beautiful ways that you will have more glimpses into enlightenment, the more wonderful stories you'll be able to share. You are amazing, special, you're unique, you're lovable. So let's just finish the meditation with one idea that we meditate upon. I invite you to imagine that anytime your attention or your thoughts goes into any feeling that's not, or any idea about yourself that's not helpful, as soon as you notice that, you're going to step into actively imagining your enlightened. I don't even give time to those thoughts. Don't help me. I'm choosing who I want to be. My time is precious. And if you're lucky enough to have already trained your mind to have no or very few negative thoughts or feelings, let yourself imagine ways that you'll motivate yourself to step into even more enlightening states of mind. Actively rehearse it. You see some thought or feeling catch your attention. What's that like in the body? And then actively resetting your body to be empowered. Actively bringing your attention into your breath. What are you going to say to yourself? I choose to practice enlightenment. I take refuge in my enlightened mind. I am awesome. I'm practicing. for the last little bit of the meditation. Just feel whatever you want. Remember whatever you want from today. Breathe if you want. Just guide your own meditation for a minute. And then take an energizing breath. We'll finish with our dedication. Dedicating that the time we spent, we are dedicating this to our future self. The gems we learned or heard, we'll cherish them, and our future self will be more enlightening, more easeful, more happy, more caring. We dedicate it even bigger, not just to our future self, but to those we care about, our goodness, our positive feelings, rubbing off on those around us. We dedicate it even wider than that. Good ideas or feelings that we share will be shared with others. We dedicate that even wider. Maybe some things you share will be catchy and they'll be passed on and could go on and help people endlessly throughout time. And we dedicate this session even wider. A world where everyone has at least basic mindfulness and self-transformation. We're working towards ourselves being fully that and the world being fully that. Dedicate this session. Feel some oomph, some power for yourself and for everyone. You're amazing and you're wonderful.